Are you ready to see the project? You have clicked by Just Stamp with Anna Marie. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Southern California, coming to you weekly. And today I'm going to be sharing with you the Starburst technique in just 8 simple steps using your scraps. So here's a card I have created. Do you recognize the stamp sets or the bundles? What do you think? I'll share with you what my goal was. So I love the retro look of the Tune-In bundle. It is new in the catalog. And as soon as I saw, oh, thank you, Sonia. Sonia says she loves it. As soon as I saw this in the catalog, I knew it was for me. I love this retro style. The old television set with the little knobs that you have to change the channel on, this sweet little antenna. The little messages are just stinking cute. And to me, it's a very retro look. There are coordinating dies that will cut the television set, the screen, give us some little embellishments like the little diamonds and the little electricity or lightning bolts, the antennas. So lots of nice outline dies and then plus the little detail dies. The stamp set as well, I'm using some of the elements to create my background on the card, and Sonia agrees it is a great bundle. I think it's going to be a keeper. It's very reasonably priced. You can do lots with it. I mean, just an important message. Anything is an important message, right? When you're reaching out to someone with a card, just thinking of you today is an important message. Happy birthday. You're super. All of those things are important messages, and I agree. I think it's a great bundle. It's very fun to work with, and I'm going to share with you the other stamp set that I'm using is an online exclusive that had my name written all over it when I saw it. It is Pets and More, and I am totally a dog person. My daughter is the bunny person and the cat person now. The other elements, the little birdie and that fox, are super cute with the dog bowl, the paw, the little ball. Very fun set. It is a reversible stamp set. And notice that there are no greetings, so it pairs nicely with the Tune-In. So those are the 2 stamp sets and bundles that I'm marrying tonight. I am working with my color scheme of Pool Party, Pretty Peacock, Calypso Coral, and Crushed Curry. I am totally shooting for that retro vibe with the color scheme, so 60s. And then the Starburst as well, because to me it all plays together with that television set. I like the way it came out. I hope you enjoy it too. And I hope that it gives you some inspiration on using this super cute bundle and the little stamp set. All right, as I said, this Starburst technique in just 8 steps. Be sure that you are on my email list if you want the PDFs delivered directly to your mailbox so that you can recreate. I'm going to try to fix that lighting. Let's see, I think we still have enough light. All right, so let's get started, right? I am first going to show you the materials that we're using. And first off, we are starting with a new color. This is Basic Beige, the new neutral for Stampin' Up, and I absolutely love it. It's not very vanilla. It's a little bit different than the previous color we used to have, Sahara Sand. I'm really liking the color. The card base is the standard 5.5 by 8.5. We will need a building layer of white. I'm just using basic white. The layer is 5 by 3. We need a layer for the insert, measuring 4 3/4 by 3.5. We need a matting layer for the card front, and I'm using basic black, 5 1/4 by 4. And then also I pre-die cut the cute television set, the screen, and I have a couple of white scraps that we're going to be stamping on, and also a basic black scrap that we're going to use to cut the dials and the speaker system for the card. So let's get started. Most importantly, we need to go with that Starburst technique. So I'm going to take these layers away, and I'm going to bring in the scraps. And these have been cut to size. The size is 4 1/4 by 1.5. And there is my color scheme again, the Pool Party Pretty Peacock, Crushed Curry, and Calypso Coral. All of them measure 4 1/4 by 1 1/2. So I bet you have this size of a scrap in your envelope in your system. Let me get started. The first step is we are going to stamp. So I am stamping the background, that little retro background, with the little diamond clusters from Tune In, and I am going to be stamping color on color. Remember, I showed you my color scheme. So I'm going to bring in my Pool Party, my Pretty Peacock, my Crushed Curry, and last, the Calypso Coral. And I am going to interject at this point that this tone-on-tone look is also achievable when you stamp with a Versamark pad. I feel like when I use the actual color, ink color itself, I get a little bit more definition in my stamping, but you could easily go with just Versamark if you don't own all of these colors. All right, I'm going to start with my lightest color, which happens to be Pool Party. And you know what? I'm going to get a different pad. I'm going to bring in this pad that has a little wrap on it so that I don't get my piercing mat inky. There we go. That's better. That way I don't worry about stamping off of the cardstock. I'm going to start with the lighter ink Pool Party, and I'm just kind of randomly stamping. I want to make sure I get some of these cute little retro diamond backgrounds all over. And it's random, but it's kind of a pattern. I just want to get those little diamonds all over. By the way, this pattern, maybe it tells you I'm dating myself of when I grew up. There used to be a cartoon called The Jetsons, and I loved the style. I still love this style. And that's all I did, random. I'm going to do that on each color. And now since I'm using Pool Party and Pretty Peacock, I'm not even going to bother to clean my stamp. I'm going to go straight to the darker color and just stamp up. So that's where I got my inspiration, that old cartoon show called The Jetsons with the little retro look, that retro television set, the retro color scheme, and then of course these little retro images. Now here's where I am going to pull out my chamois because I do not want to dip the Pretty Peacock into the Crushed Curry. So how's it looking so far? If you think like this is something you might be able to do, something you would want to do if you have all of these scraps hanging about, it actually turns into a really cute project. And I'm thinking it would also be a very cute scrapbook page. So maybe that's going to be the next project I create with this cute little ensemble. All right. Now, I'm thinking there are other color schemes that give that same retro vibe that you could also use. And I'm going to clean again. I think I love the look of the Pool Party and the Pretty Peacock together. What do you think? Do you like the way that looks? And then bring in that Crushed Curry. Sonia remembers the Jetsons. Yeah, I'm sure I spent hours watching that show. And of course I love the dog. I'm gonna have to check it out on YouTube because I don't remember all of the characters' names. I remember George. That's George Jetson, and his wife. Was it Trixie? I can't remember the name of the mom. They had 2 kids, a girl and a boy, and of course that dog. They were really ahead of their times. You watch some of the episodes and I think I like an early Mac computer on that, from that show. All right, so I've just kind of created the background with all of those little diamond from the stamp set, and I am going to kind of move some of these out. We are going to start on step number 2. So step number 1, oh, you know what? There's another very important step or part of step number 1. Not only do we need to stamp it, we also need to cut it. So here's the secret to getting that Starburst look. I am going to bring in my paper trimmer with my cutting blade, and I am going to cut each one of these scraps. And by the way, you could use, I've also done this where I use 2 of the same color. So 2, I still need 4 strips, but you could use just 2 colors. It's totally up to you and what you want to achieve. So let's see. All right, so I am going to be cutting from the upper left to the lower right. So I'm going to put the upper left on the track, and at the bottom, the lower right, and I am just going to slice it in 2 diagonally. I'm going to bring in my cutting blade. So there's 1 scrap cut, and here's a second, and the third, and as with anything, you know what kind of a stamper I am. I mean, I don't think I'm sloppy, but I'm not obsessive about being 100% on the mark. I pretty much just eyeball it. Okay, so I've cut all 4 scraps. Now I'm going to go on to step number 2. I am going to bring in my silicone mat because I'm going to start getting sticky, and I'm going to bring in my basic white layer. I'm calling it the building layer. So it's 5 by 3, and the first thing I want to do is mark the center. So I'm going to bring this over. I shouldn't have been so quick with my trimmer, and I'm using this only because I want the ruler here. So I'm going to mark the center of the 5-inch side. So half would be 2.5, right? And then I'm going to try and get also at the bottom there. So I've just marked the center. Okay, Rosie of the maid. Oh my gosh, Sonia. And Astro the dog. What a great name for a dog, right? Oh my gosh. George Jane was the mom. Judy Elver. Oh my gosh. I can hear this song in my brain. It's just too fun. Oh my gosh, such good memories from that cartoon. I guess maybe just being a kid and the cartoon and all the characters. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, and this is the way I like to do it. I am going to apply the glue to my building layer as opposed to putting the glue on the back of my cardstock scraps. You're going to see it's much easier. And I'll tell you another secret. This is not only using up my cardstock scraps, it's also using up my multi-purpose liquid glue scraps. When I get to the end of a bottle, I like to stand it, and I'll show you. In fact, let me be honest. I think I just eyed about 12 of these bottles. You get down to a certain point and the glue won't come out of the small tip any longer. So I know there is usually plenty left in the bottle. So I stand it up, and now I can come in and I can use the brush tip. And I don't know how good the camera is going to pick this up, but what I'm doing is brushing the liquid glue all over this building layer. And you can do it half a side at a time since we're applying glue there. And I'm going to come in with my Calypso Coral, and let's see. Let's see here. I'm actually going to start to the left. I have to think. So I'm going to go ahead and apply. So you can do half. I'm going to just throw caution to the wind. I'm going to glue up the entire layer. By the way, that's exactly why I've got my silicone mat layer here, because I'm falling off of my layer with glue and it could be a little bit sticky. All right, so let's see. I'm going to start with my Calypso Coral, and I'm going to build first to the left. So what I'm looking at, I want to put that the right edge angle on the center point there and at the bottom as well. And notice how I'm hanging off the bottom. Let's see if I can move that up a little bit more. So I'm going to hang that off the bottom. Then I'm going to put my next color down. I'm going with my crushed curry. And I want to make sure I have coverage all the way around. So if I put it too low, if I try to just match that up, you can see I have a little bit of white peeking out there. I do not want that. I want the entire building layer covered. I don't want to see any white. So I'm going to pull that up, make sure I cover all the way up to the corner, abut that right to the Calypso Coral. My next color is going to be the Pretty Peacock. And same goal is to cover all the white, like so. And then finally, I'm going to take my Pool Party and cover that up right there. And I'm going to be trimming off the excess. So no worries that it's a little bit sloppy down here at the bottom or up at the top. We are going to be trimming that off. All right, now I'm going to go to the right. And so my next color would be what? If I'm repeating the pattern, I'm next going to put my Pool Party right up here, and I'm going to abut it right to the edge of the Calypso Coral. And my next color will be Pool Party. Sorry, my next color will be Pretty Peacock. And look what's happening because I'm not paying attention. I need to make sure that I cover that very tip of the white. So I just push up that triangle, push that up so I'm covering all over. And then next after Pretty Peacock would be what? The Crushed Curry. Bring that over. And then finally, my last piece of Calypso Coral. All right, so there we go. It doesn't look very pretty yet, right? So just like I'm always encouraging my stampers who get discouraged when first starting a project because it's not looking pretty yet, you keep going, and in the end, it's gonna be okay. What do you think? I love the color scheme. It looks very retro to me. I like the Pool Party Peacock. I think I said it already. That Crushed Curry, just, it gives me that 60s vibe. All right, now when I turn it over, what a mess, right? I am gonna take my paper snips. I have my handy dandy tool right at the top there. So I have everything handy so far. I haven't lost anything. And I am just gonna use that basic white building layer as my guide to cut off the excess cardstock scraps, going all the way around. So I think, you know what, you could do with this little card with the kitty cat as well, right? My daughter who has the bunnies could do it with the bunny watching the TV. I just thought it's super cute with those Pets and More because I know in my household, the pets are watching TV as well. In fact, we leave it on. We leave the television set on for them when we leave the house. As long as we don't leave a pet channel in where there's going to be barking involved, they love the company, so they are TV watchers as well. All right, so, and I think I did a pretty good job of cutting straight. If you needed to, you could take it up to a paper trimmer or your paper cutter and cut off the excess so you get a nice clean line. I think I did a pretty good job here, so no worries. Now I'm gonna push this sticky stuff out of the way, and I might need to clean my scissors afterwards, I'm not sure. So we just finished step 3. So step 2 was to mark and glue. Step 3 is to glue the pieces. Step 4, I flipped it and trimmed it. Look how easy this is, right? 8 simple steps. We're already on step number 5, which is to mat the Starburst, the trimmed Starburst. And I am gonna put it towards the top of the mat or the layer. I'm just gonna have about 1/8 of an inch all the way on the 2 sides and top. So again, I am gonna bring in my scrappy glue, right? Because this is the leftover glue as well. I have like 12 of these bottles. that have excess at the bottom because I store them standing up. Now all the glue is falling to the bottom, the brush bit, and it's very easy because the cap is meant for this glue bottle to stand. Look how easy, super easy. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and mat it. I want the narrow ends of the Starburst at the bottom. And super easy, right? There you go. So we have now glued the Starburst to the mat. Our next step is to glue the matted Starburst onto the card base. And remember, this is my basic beige. And I do want to burnish it, so I'm going to bring in my bone folder and have a nice clean crease. This gets matted again, and so far everything is flat adhesive, so I'm not creating any dimension yet. Everything's flat liquid glue. And notice how I am applying a generous amount of glue, but I'm not taking it to the edge, because you know the secret to avoiding the sticky mess with the glue is to stay away from the edge. So I've got a generous border here. I'm gonna flip this over to keep my fingers out of the glue. And I'm gonna have, again, about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around this time. So there, perfect. And I can flip over, and I'm going to burnish again, this time with my bone folder, just to make sure I have a nice contact for that adhesive to take effect. And there we go. There is our card base. All right. Step number 7 is to decorate the card front with our die cuts. So here, now I'm going to bring in my television set and the screen. And I have some scraps for stamping, and I also have some scrap for die cutting. Remember, I still need my little, the channel knob and the volume knob, and then I needed a little speaker system down at the bottom as well. So I'm gonna need to stamp, and I'm gonna need to die cut. So if I'm stamping, you know I wanna use my piercing mat because it's a photopolymer stamp set. And I'm gonna bring in the sweet sentiment that says, stay tuned for a very important message. And, oh dear, I need my Memento Tuxedo Black, right? And I'm going to press this stamp, or this pad needs more pressure to make sure you get nice and inked up. That's the Memento Black pad. It's the linen pad, not the spongy pad. And I'm gonna do my best here to bring this in, and it's kind of hard when I'm not looking straight over top. Hopefully this is a good spot. Nice and firm. Stay tuned for an important message. That's going to go on the outside. On the inside, the insert is going to say, happy birthday, one of the more needed cards. And I'm gonna stamp again in Tuxedo Black, and I'm gonna stamp it a little bit high because normally I just put a greeting on the inside. This one's gonna be a little over the top with the decoration. All right, so that's that. And I'll show you what I mean by over the top, because I love all the elements on both stamp sets. So I have the little diamond pattern, and I use Pool Party and Pretty Peacock. And then from the Pets and More, I use the little dog bow with a couple of balls to chase, and then the little paws making tracks. So this is totally, totally decorated on the inside too. So I'm going to bring in my pad, my little paw prints coming from the side. That's in basic black, and I'm going to eliminate stamps as I use them. So what do you think so far? Is this a card that you would like to make and to send. So let's see. Next, oops, I was too quick in putting away my black. I'm multitasking here. I'm going to come in and stamp my little dog in tuxedo black. He's a really sweet dog, and you have lots of options. You could stamp on colored cardstock and just stamp and not have to color. Or as what I'm doing, I'm stamping on white. I am going to be coloring with Stampin' Blend. So lots of techniques on this card. We have that. I'm going to come in with a little Calypso Coral dog bowl that I'm going to put on the insert. And it's tap, tap, tap. And I'm not sure if you can see where I'm working. I'm just going to put the little dog bowl right down here. There, Calypso Coral. And I'm done with the Calypso Coral. I am going to stamp a couple of the balls, if I haven't lost them yet. And one goes directly onto the insert. And one is going to be stamped onto a scrap. Actually, I don't even need to waste my scrap. I have loads of space on this white scrap. There. So I'm done with my crushed curry. Next, I'm going to bring in my pool party. And I think I need to clean my diamonds. And let's see, right in through here. Flip it. And I'm going to get a little bit more color on there. I'm using all my favorite retro colors with the pool party. And this one's just going to be repetition here, kind of two-step. And I think I'm good with that. Let's see. All right, so let's take care of coloring our little pooch. And let's see, so I don't know, let's name him Astro then. I'm gonna bring in my blends, and I'm using light and dark crumb cake and light smoky slate. Let me get my pretty peacock out of the way. And I'm just gonna color. I'm gonna start with my light color, which happens to be light pool party, or sorry, light crumb cake. And let's see, looking around, make sure I have everything out of the way there. Okay, so I'm gonna leave his little snout white. I'm gonna come in coloring his ears and a little bit of the forehead right through here. Leave a little white around his eyes, and overall color here on the body. So obviously, if you are custom making this card for a friend, you could color the dog, perhaps the color that the recipient, or the dog of the recipient. All right, there is light crumb cake. I'm gonna bring in my dark, and I'm gonna give the little dog some shadows in his ears, a little bit around the forehead, and the snout, right in through here around the spots, and his feet, nails. And there is no die set for this little stamp set, so a little bit of fussy cutting will be in order, but it's very minimal. And then I'm going to come back in with my light crumb cake and blend this in again. Very minimal cutting, so no fretting, right? Who doesn't love to fussy cut? Raise your hand if you all right, so okay, so let me put a little bit of light in here. There we go. Let's You know, we don't even need to do that because we're going to be coloring this with a little trinket, but we'll go ahead and cover it up. And the next step will be to hand snip. And you know, the rule for hand snipping is to move your paper as opposed to the snips. I'm just going to come in here. And I have loads more ideas for scrap uses, so we're going to be continuing on the series. My goal is a Monday night series. As long as I can adhere to that schedule with all the extra projects and the babysitting that I get to do these days. We get my granddaughter Sally overnight, maybe 2 times a week, and I'm not always certain what night it's going to be, so it's kind of hard for me to plan my Facebook lives, but that's the beauty of my job. It's on my schedule. All right, now almost finished here. There. And I'm also going to be punching that little ball. I happen to have a 3/8 inch punch that's going to snip that ball. And let's see, my insert there. And I want it to go into the little bowl. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take the ball and I'm going to cut a straight edge there. And I'm going to bring in, this time I can't use my brush because this is too precise. I'm going to put my little dot of glue right there, and I'm going to help myself out. I'm going to bring in my take your pick up that little ball and put it right to position, right inside the bowl. There we go. It's coming along. I think I'm liking it. What do you think? Happy birthday. Let's go ahead and add these elements. So I need to stick my television message, the screen, onto the TV stand. And I'm going to add just a little bit of glue using the brush tip the pen tip. And here we go. I'm going to set this a little bit high because I want to put that speaker system down below. There we go. And so that I don't start losing things, let's actually adhere this to the card front. So far I haven't lost anything. By the way, did I mention where I got this wood grain television set? It is from the Country Birdhouse paper. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Maybe you can help me out. If you remember the name of the woodsy paper that goes with Country Birdhouse, that is where I took this piece of wood, and I like that it's kind of a blonde wood, which to me again is the very retro look, very what's the mid-century modern, I think is what I'm shooting for. That's what I'm trying to think of. And I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back, and I'll put a couple more just to support. So yeah, I thought that wood grain paper, I've tried die cutting it out of cardstock, like pecan pie or copper clay. It just wasn't the same. I like this blonde wood a little bit better. And I'm gonna put it a little bit low. So to me, this is like the floor of the living room. And I'm putting it a little bit low because I also want the antenna going up here, and I want the speakers and the knobs going on here. All right, and so that I don't lose my little Astro, I'm going to put some dimensionals on Astro as well. He goes right here to the side of the TV, right like so. All right, we're almost done, and in fact, let's get rid of the insert before I lose it. And not that that's ever happened, right? All right, and I'm also going to remind you, if you are interested in this tutorial, the written instructions for it, the 8 simple steps to your Starburst technique, you will want to make sure that you are on my email list. And you can find the link over at the blog site, which is AnnaMariePalmerin.com. Up in the upper, well, I should say, usually it depends on what kind of device you're on, but there is a space for join the email list. All right, so there's that insert. We've got that. We just need to add our details. So I'm going to bring in my basic black, and I'll tell you what I did to help me out. I have added the adhesive sheets to the back of this basic black cardstock to make it really easy. I need to bring in my dies, and I'm going to need both the knobs, the speakers, and the antenna. So let's see. The knobs and the speakers are on one die, and then here's the antenna. And there's 2 dies for the antenna. One is if you stamped it and you want to outline cut it, and the other is just the die cut. And I'm going for just the die cut. These are obviously very small dies, so I can use the mini. I'm going to go ahead and bring my mini in to play. And the sandwich is this pretty simple. I'm using platform 3. It gives me the least grief. I'm going to put my 1 die with the speaker and the knobs there. And let's see if I can fit my, oh, I think I can. I can also fit my antenna. There we go. So self-adhesive knobs and self-adhesive antenna. And just crank this through. Right. And I'm going to pull off that die. The speaker is still on here. And let me just gently tug at it. And then also the antenna. Push that aside. All right, so let's eliminate some of these pieces. So on the back, we just need to peel off the backing so we can stick the speaker system. I've got it down to the lower, and I'm kind of centering it between the 2 feet of the antenna. There we go. And to get my die out from, my die cut out from the die, I'm just going to use my take your pick and peel this off as well. So simple, and there we go. Whoops. This one was in 2 pieces for some reason. And very important to have that little knob on the antenna adhered down. So let's see if I can get that adhesive piece off. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to be having sticky fingers on here. All right, I'm going to leave it. I don't want it to get damaged. And I'm going to put my antenna in the center, right down behind the television set. It's coming along. What do you think? Second to the last finishing touches are the little knobs. So we have our volume and we have the channel changer. And they both have adhesive on the back. And if you use your fingernail or something to get started, it's pretty easy to get it off. So these little pieces are really tiny. So it's helpful that we don't have to put the glue on here. Let me try. The first one's not so difficult. The second one, you want to be a little bit more precise about where you line it up. Sonia says she loves it. Thank you. And she's going to case it. Now that is the sincerest compliment that you're going to case it. Thank you so much. We're not done yet. Okay, so the little embellishments that I thought go perfectly are the adhesive back textured dots. So one is for, And I'm using this smaller one for the little dog collar. That's why we didn't have to worry about putting color on that. And then the two knobs, we have a little bit of hardware going on. They're not just black plastic, they have a little bit of gold accent or metal accent. So there we go. All right. Stay tuned for an important message. And it's happy birthday. And Louise says she's going to try to case it as well. Thank you too. That's so sweet. That makes me feel really good. I love it, but then I'm biased. So thank you so much for the compliments. I appreciate that. And remember, if you want the PDF with the written instructions and measurements, make sure that you're on my email list. I will be sending out the email with the PDF tomorrow. So, and this will also be posted on the blog and on YouTube in case you came in late and you want to catch up and get a little bit of the info that I offered up front. One more thing. Stampin' Up! Is in the final days of that join offer. You can purchase a starter kit for just $99 and get over $200 worth of product, $125 in your choice, and then over $80 in the in color products like the pads, ink pads, the markers, the cardstock, and the patterned DSP. It is a hoot of a deal. I wouldn't want to pass it up. So you have a few days left by the end of May to join. And if you're interested, I do have a link on the blog as well that gives you information on why you'd want to join the Stamperista team. I hope you enjoyed the card. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Stay tuned.